Welcome to ES3N.
Season up through the trade deadline of how the Houston Rockets team, a young Houston Rockets team, would look, and then make a decision on trying to add a piece. But instead, they decided to add KD. Right now, they were the second overall seed in the Western Conference this season with a really young core. This accelerates their timeline, obviously. This is a big swing by them. They think that they're championship contenders right now, and they probably are.
Well, let's expand on that a little bit farther. I mean, they are just coming off their first 50-win season since 2020. They're well coached. They were the #2 seed in the West before getting knocked off by the Warriors. But now they add Kevin Durant. What do they look like to you this next season?
Yeah, I love them. I was an early adopter of them 2 years ago. I thought that they were going to make the playoffs. They didn't. They just missed. And then this season, I thought they were going to make the playoffs. And boy, they not only did they make the playoffs, but again, they end up as the #2 seed. Now they get bounced out in the first round by the Golden State Warriors. So again, I wanted to see, okay, would they maybe just like let this young core group grow a little bit? But instead they bring in KD. And yes, this absolutely accelerates their path and their hopes to win a championship, because what did they lack last season? They lacked a closer and a consistent scorer. Well, boom, all of a sudden you bring in Kevin Durant. He does that all day, every day. So that answers one problem. Plus, he's a great defender. Ime Udoka, his baseline is, if you don't play defense, you don't play for me. Well, Kevin Durant is excellent at both ends of the floor. So he's a little bit older, obviously, a lot older, actually, than most of their core group. But he's a veteran presence. He's an experienced player. He's won championships in the past. He's been on a bunch of winning teams. And now in a loaded Western Conference, you have to be looking at the Rockets as one of the main favorites next season to not only get out of the Western Conference, but to potentially win a championship.
Yeah, even look at that playoff series this year against the Warriors. Would the Warriors have beat them with Kevin Durant? I don't know. That begs the question there. Looking at the Suns team, obviously they're able to offload KD here. There's some rumors surrounding Bradley Beal. They're picking up Jalen Green. They're picking up Dillon Brooks and a slew of draft picks. What does the outlook look like for them?
Yeah, it's a little bit still under construction, right? Because I like Jalen Green. He's got a lot of upside, a lot of potential, but he's been super inconsistent. And I think the fit there with Devin Booker might be a little wonky because they're both gunners and neither of them is a traditional point guard. And I wonder how that's going to work. Dillon Brooks is a useful rotation player for sure. That #10 pick, that's their pick. They get it back. There was some question about whether or not if Houston and the Suns traded together, whether or not the Suns could get back some more of their future draft capital, because the Rockets also control their 2027 first-round draft pick and their 2029 first-round draft pick. But instead, they get #10 in this draft. Pretty good. And then those 5 seconds. It's a bushel of seconds. You hope to hit on one of those. I think that this signals what we already knew about the Phoenix Suns, which is that finally they've come to the realization that they are not contenders in a loaded Western Conference, that they're going to have to reboot this thing on the fly. You mentioned Bradley Beal. He still has that no-trade clause. It's one of the most onerous contracts in the NBA. I wonder if they can somehow pay somebody to take him off their hands with some of these second-round picks, perhaps. But yeah, this is still under construction. Figure it out as they go along and try to build around Devin Booker as they move forward.
Crazy, crazy news on the day of a Game 7 for the NBA.
Rockets, the San Antonio Spurs, or the Miami Heat. That's the 3 teams that he would sign contract extensions with once he is traded. But for the Suns' part, the focus of their conversations have mostly been around the Miami Heat, the Houston Rockets, and the Minnesota Timberwolves, I'm told. So the Timberwolves are along with a couple other teams known as wild cards potentially for Kevin Durant, but they're going to work with his business manager and partner Rich Kleiman on figuring out just exactly where his home could be. As far as those Minnesota Timberwolves, they've had some discussions with the Phoenix Suns, but I'm told Kevin Durant has no desire, he has no interest in playing for the Minnesota Timberwolves. So if you're the Timberwolves, how do you evaluate it? From a basketball fit, it makes plenty of sense to bring in Kevin Durant with Anthony Edwards. Yeah. But if Kevin Durant doesn't want to be there, how do you approach that? The Suns have had an interest level in Julius Randle and Rudy Gobert. So these conversations will be fluid between now, potentially later this week, ahead of the NBA draft.
Rudy Gobert makes sense. I mean, the rim protection really struggled for the Phoenix Suns last year, but I'm hearing that they want to work with Kevin Durant and his team and Rich Kleiman, and they also want their best deals may not be the teams that Kevin Durant wants to go to. So make these concentric circles fit, Brian.
Yeah, so when Brian Gregory was named the general manager of the Suns, he famously had his press conference and said the word alignment like 20-something times.
It's like my back. I'm trying to get my back in alignment.
But it is aligning with Durant's desires their most #1 priority. And so here's the thing. This is where the risk profile goes. If you're the Timberwolves, for example, even if Durant says he doesn't want to be there, as Shams is accurately reporting, would you still trade for him and say, but we're going to be able to offer him the $100 million extension,
Sure.
and he can't get that necessarily in the open market next year, and we just are going to believe in that? Or are you going to lower your offer to the point where it may not be as palatable to Phoenix because you realize it's possible for a one-year rental? And does the offer come down to the point where now they start to want to work with Durant? I've been calling this the Durant triangle. You need this alignment on where Durant wants to play, how the contract works out, and something that the Suns would accept. That's going to be a hard triangle to satisfy.
KD wanted the New York Knicks. He wanted to go there. The Knicks have no interest in bringing him in, which probably makes Knicks Nation, I don't know, probably quite interested in why not. I think these three choices are by default. He definitely doesn't want to go to Minnesota, but I think there is some fear from him at Rich Kleiman that they're hoping that there's going to be respect at Kevin's age to give him what he wants rather than try to trade him like he's 31 years old, which he's not anymore. I think they're trying to get a major haul, but they're hoping.
The market is not an open market, okay? It's not like there's 10 teams bidding and the Suns can just pit guys against each other and take the best offer. Because Durant wants to direct where he wants to go, and because some of the teams that Durant is interested in are motivated to limit what they can offer, then it's difficult to get the triangle into alignment. And look, the Suns obviously want to do this by the draft. There's two different reasons. One, if you're going to trade for Kevin Durant, you're probably going to have to make other adjustments to your roster to fit next to Durant, and you want to have the entire transaction season to do so. Secondly, if you are trading for a draft pick, you want to be able to execute that draft pick on the draft night itself. So it makes sense that they want to do it by the draft, but there is nothing written that says they have to do it by the draft. And if they don't like their offers, and we are a long way between now and Wednesday, they don't have to do it by the draft. And that's something I think they're considering at least a little bit right now.
But can they afford to wait here, Perk?
I don't believe they can. I don't think it's wise, right? We're watching teams already while we were wondering what was KD going to go, or still wondering where is KD going to land. Guess who made a move? The Orlando Magic, right? And so teams are not waiting. Teams are watching the NBA Finals right now. Teams are watching the Indiana Pacers, especially in the Eastern Conference, and said, we need to get to work. We actually got a chance if we build the team and get the pieces. So I'm looking at Phoenix and I'm saying, well, wouldn't you want to, like Wendy just said, be able to do something with a pick if you was to make a trade with the Houston Rockets and they have to throw in the 10th pick to make the trade work, and you want to move that pick by draft day? I mean, I'm just like the whole waiting and stuff, I just don't think it benefits the Phoenix Suns, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I'm going to speak on the other side of it. Definitely doesn't benefit Phoenix, and it doesn't benefit the other team as well. When you look at a guy like Kevin Durant, this is a guy you're going to put the ball in his hands. This is a guy you're going to run offense through, and guys are going to have to work around. You want to bring him into your locker room as soon as possible. This guy is 50% from the field, 40% from three, 90% from the free throw line, and the only time he missed it the last couple years is because he shot 83% from the free throw line. So this guy's a certified bucket getter. You want him in your locker room and around your guys as soon as possible to build those relationships.
Let me just rebut that. This is the huge moment for the Suns franchise. They don't have 4 or 5 different players they can trigger a retooling around. They can't trade Bradley Beal. They're not trading Devin Booker. The rest of their guys on the roster don't have extraordinary value. This is the maneuver they have to change the way this team is going to be operating going forward. They have to be patient, and they have to get it right.
What is his trade value, Wendy, right now? KD, I'm asking, what is his trade value?
His trade value is depressed because he's limiting his market, and he is effectively doing that because if he made it very clear he wants to have agency on where he finishes his career, and by doing that he is depressing the market and forcing himself to a certain spot. That has been very effective so far.
And so back to the triangle or the hexagon, if you push in all of these other ingredients we go, including the NBA draft.
And how the arms race is going there and wondering, are we a Kevin Durant away from competing in this Eastern Conference race for the championship? So this process will escalate between now and the NBA trade deadline later this month.
Shams, thank you so very much for that information as the party starts once again behind you, and Shanae Agumake is joining us here at the desk.
Man,
Really, that's where the party is.
Up. They're putting the pressure on.
I know, we're blasting the show over the loudspeaker, the party over the loudspeaker, but clearly this is a party for Kevin Durant. Shanae, which team do you think should be most aggressive in going after him?
I know most people, especially considering I'm wearing red, would assume that I'm sure we're going to shoot our shot because that's what they're doing, shooting their shot at Kevin Durant. I'm actually going to throw a curveball, another team with red, Miami. I'm looking at UD. I'm looking at Miami. And again, I think the emphasis here is the East. Because if you think about them and what KD brings, I mean, last year they were 37-45. They had the worst record since LeBron James left Miami. Sorry, UD. 21st in offense. They have a number of young vets that will understand what it's like to play alongside a generational player in Kevin Durant. So I'm looking at that as an opportunity. But of course, I'm going to throw my Houston Rockets into the mix. The only reason I have cause for pause is if Giannis is on the board, you don't want to shoot your shot at Kevin Durant and miss out on Giannis.
I'm looking at that enormous championship ring that is sitting firmly and squarely on our desk right now. Udonis, the Miami Heat having interest here?
Well, listen, I have nothing to say. What's understood does not have to be explained.
There you go.
And there it is right there.
All right, so the most important thing that Shams put in his report there was that the Suns are working with Rich Kleiman, his business manager, on this. When they attempted to trade him at the trade deadline, they did not work with him. And it came as a surprise to Kevin Durant, and Durant made it very clear he was unhappy with that, and it ended up undercutting the trade. And the reason Durant's opinion matters here is he's only got 1 year left on his contract. What I am not sure of, guys, is how robust the offers are going to be. From what I am told, the Suns are looking for a comparable package to what they traded Kevin Durant, which is impact players and multiple draft assets. I'm not sure they're going to be able to generate that because Durant is a couple years older and his contract is shorter. So that's going to be something where they're going to watch in the next couple of weeks.
So much of the conversation when we talk about Kevin Durant and the Phoenix Suns really needing to trade him if they want to improve the roster is his age and how much money is left. I feel like sometimes it goes by the wayside, UD, what kind of player Kevin Durant still is.
Bucket. Certified bucket. One of the best we've ever seen do it. And wherever he goes, he's going to get buckets. But let's be real. Kevin Durant needs to go somewhere where he's going to help a team win a championship. He needs to put himself in a position where he can get a ring. This is not just about playing basketball. He wants to end his legacy as considered a champion. A lot of people say he hasn't been able to get that done the last couple of times, so he wants to have that opportunity. Also, a strong personality as a coach, somebody he respects. He's been around this league a long time. He's seen the best and he's seen the worst. So he needs to go into a locker room where there's a coach and you have a strong personality as a coach and some young players.
Also, strong personality as a teammate. And I think don't sleep on Minnesota. I'm not sure what the assets look like, but if you're thinking about contention, twice you were in the Western Conference Finals. Twice you had opportunities to almost get over the hump. But what was the big issue? They did not have support. And yeah, this guy was this man's shadow. Anthony Edwards was Kevin Durant's shadow. And one of my favorite plays that we witnessed was when they went head to head and we got, look, I'm coming for you, big bro. There's mentorship, but it's when your idols to your rivals, right? Now it's rivals could be your idols and your teammates. Yep. This is a place you should not sleep on. I look at Minnesota as an opportunity where if you get him, maybe they are ready made to get to where we are right now in the NBA Finals.
Right. It's just about what they would have to give up, and that's where I'm looking at maybe like a Jaden McDaniels. Do you want to do that? I'm not sure.
Well, they both are teams that are in the second apron zone, which makes the trade tough. But, Janae, you are not off base because the Timberwolves tried around the trade deadline to pull off a deal for Kevin Durant. Because of the hurdles of the second apron, it wasn't possible. But now it's the summer. Things are different.
So we're here at the NBA Finals, but we're also just 2 weeks away from the 2025 NBA Draft. The Mavericks, I mean, you guys saw me, Janae, and Wendy's reaction. They literally hit the lottery. They're going to have the opportunity to draft Cooper Flagg with the #1 pick. And after that, it's kind of anyone's guess. The NBA offseason, it's going to truly heat up as we approach that June 25th date. And the conversation is, okay, that's when the draft kind of starts at 2 or 3. And that's why we have our front office insider, Bobby Marks, here joining us. Bobby, which teams are you watching most closely as we inch towards the end of June?
Malika, there's 4 teams for me, and I think it certainly starts with San Antonio, who has the 2nd and 14th pick in the draft. Certainly, the likelihood, of course, is Cooper Flagg going #1, but this draft is wide open. Certainly, the Spurs have options to add with Victor Wembanyama or certainly move back in the draft. The next team is Philadelphia at #3, a rarity where a team with Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, and Paul George can add a top 3 pick.
And And that's it for today's episode on ES3N. We're not just here to entertain. We're here to add value. Whether it's a new perspective on the game, a deeper look into an athlete's mindset, or a moment that made you think, this is the kind of content that stays with you after the final whistle. Sports teach us more than just how to win. They teach us patience, discipline, how to lose with grace and come back stronger. And that's the message we're building here together. So if today's video gave you something real, something to take into your next workout, your next challenge, or even just your day, go ahead and like, share, and subscribe. Not for the algorithm, but because we're building a community that gets it. Thanks for being part of this. Keep learning, keep leveling up. And as always, this is ES3N, signing off with gratitude and grind.
Thanks for watching. You're tuned into the ES3N network. We appreciate you spending your time with us. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you never miss a drop. Got thoughts or theories? Drop them in the comments. We read them all. Share this video to help keep important stories alive. Until next time, stay sharp, stay curious, and remember, there's always more to the story. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to like and subscribe for more. But stay tuned. Coming up next, I'll be adding even more value by showing you exactly how to get started with your knitting journey.